All right. So, video number 2 of the Grandma's Marathon training series, and basically just going to recap kind of the week that was. So, it was the week starting April 1st, and it was a doozy. Tough workouts. That's to be expected. That's kind of the goal. And really the idea at this point is most of my runs, if not all of them, should be 5 miles or longer. So the shortest runs that I have on my schedule are 5 to 10 mile recovery runs, and I'm running 6 days a week. So that's new. I had before coming into training, I generally try to stay in about half marathon fitness. Not set the world on fire half marathon fitness, but I could complete a half marathon in a respectable time for me. But I'm not running 6 days a week when I'm doing that. So generally, I think in an average week, I was taking probably 3 days off for recovery. And now, I wasn't training for anything, so it didn't really matter. When I started this training program, it's 6 days of running. So that's a decent sized jump. And pretty quickly, when I went from 3 days off to like 5 or 6 days of running and 1 to 2 days off, I have kind of not always, but recently I've had pretty regular occurrences of patellar tendonitis in my right knee. So what I'll notice is kind of sharp pain right under my kneecap. It's the same place every time. And there are little straps you can get that will alleviate that pain. And in my experience, it can actually go away entirely and I can go back to running normally if I wear one of them for long enough. So I've started wearing that again. That kind of cropped up. But the other thing that cropped up is in my other leg, in my left leg, my Achilles, or I couldn't tell if it was my Achilles, but my left ankle, somewhere in there, like kind of on the back left side of my left ankle, started feeling a little gimpy. So I haven't wanted to both add in the extra days of running and ramp up the mileage super quickly. So I've been doing the minimum for those recovery runs, about 5 miles. This week I ramped that up. So the ankle's starting to feel a bit better. The knee mostly feels fine as long as I'm wearing my strap. And I may be able to stop wearing that again soon. So if I stretch regularly after my runs, like almost always, and when I say stretch, I mean mostly I'm doing yoga poses. So I'll do some forward bends. I'll do like warrior 1, warrior 2. That seems to help tremendously, especially with the tendonitis in my knee. The ankle, not as much, but it has been feeling better. So I'm kind of feeling a bit more optimistic about increasing the mileage. So this week I kind of moved it from 5 mile recovery runs to 6 mile recovery runs. And we'll see what that looks like going forward. My goal would be to get to 10 miles on those, but I'm not going to risk injury to do that. Okay, so if I'm not feeling 100%, I'm not going to jack up the distance on those. So, at any rate, week of April 1st, getting into the mileage. First of all, April 2nd, we get smoked with a snowstorm, right? So it's like full on blizzard. I think we got at least 6 inches of snow in less than 24 hours, which, it could be worse, but still, it's April 2nd. We're over it with the snow. Thank you, Mother Nature. We're ready to be done. So April 2nd, I'm driving around. I don't have a gym membership or anything. We do have a treadmill in our house, but it's an old treadmill. It's not a top of the line treadmill to the extent that my wife can run on it because she's, maybe 115 pounds soaking wet. I cannot run on it. Like, it'll literally shut off if I if I turn up the speed and start trying to run on it, the belt stops, everything just it can't handle me. So I don't have access to a treadmill at the moment. So April 2nd, it's, snowing like crazy. And I'm now trying to find a gym I can go use because, my neighbors have treadmills. They're very nice people. They'll let me use them, but I don't want to be that guy who is constantly contacting somebody to use their treadmill for free. So I was like, okay, the weather's been crappy enough this spring. I should have known it was going to be because I signed up for a early summer marathon that basically guarantees the weather's going to be crap all spring. Should have just signed up for a gym membership the second I signed up for the race and maybe counteract the juju. Didn't do that. So I thought I'd be able to sneak in with a free trial somewhere. I went to that gym. I'm not going to say the name because I don't want to be like that. It's not, they don't have any obligation to give me a free trial. So I went in and they were like trying to get me to sign up for the membership. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that today, especially because it was like a 2-year commitment. And I'm like, this is a pet peeve of mine for a lot of gyms. Gyms, if you're listening, which you're not, but if you were, like, why can't you work out some kind of punch program? There's a whole bunch of people. I got to think I'm not the only person who's like this, who will only use a gym membership if the weather is so terrible that they aren't going to be outside. You're getting none of my money right now. Wouldn't it be better to get some of it? If you offered a punch card program or something like that, you could at least get something from me. At any rate, they did not. So I went on my way. Now I'm driving through really bad roads, right? Okay, so not to say that plows are always lightning fast for a blizzard in the wintertime, but they're usually pretty good, and especially main roads, they do a pretty decent job of keeping them clear. That was not the case for this one, okay? I don't know if they'd already put the plows away and told all the plow drivers that they were done for the year, but the roads were horrible. And I'm driving my Toyota Camry around trying to find a gym I can use. Fortunately, I will say this, thank you, Planet Fitness. There is a Planet Fitness in my area, and, you can get a day pass there pretty easily. You just sign up for the app, and you have an option through the app. You don't even have to talk to anybody to just, get a free day pass. So I did that and was able to log my training run finally. So that was the 5-minute intervals. Ended up being, it's hard to say because, I use a foot pod with my Garmin Instinct 2, and I got to think that's somewhat accurate, but I'm sure it's not perfect. And neither is the distance on the treadmill, I'm guessing. So what the foot pod shows is just under 7.9 miles. And the treadmill, I think, was definitely less than that. It was probably more like 7.5 miles or something like that. But that's not a huge concern. What I care more about is the 5-minute intervals. So what I've been doing with that is I'll do about a 10-minute warm-up at pretty easy pace. Then I'll go into the 5-minute intervals, which, again, 5 minutes at a pretty tough pace, and then 5 minutes of recovery. So rest, like not jogging. I'm walking at a very slow speed. And the speed I'm supposed to hold for those 5-minute intervals is between a 5:52 and a 6:08. And so for that workout, let's see, I'm going to pull it up here, see if I can find the actual intervals. Okay, yes. So the first one, 5:51, perfect, right on schedule. But I was probably pushing it too hard. Second one, I slowed it down a bit to 6 minutes. Third one, 5:54. Fourth one, 5:59. Fifth one, 5:58. And I can't remember if I maybe got off the treadmill once during one of those intervals, which, definitely don't want to be doing that. That's not what the workout's designed for. I want to stay as true to these things as I can. But this is also a pretty new workout for me, and this was a significant improvement over the last time I did it. So I'll take those positives and still know that I need to do better. But it was definitely an improvement over the last one. So knocked that out. Thank you, Planet Fitness. April 3rd, recovery run, did 6 minutes at about an 8:01 pace. That's right where I should be if I want to break 3 hours. So I worry a little bit that I might be pushing too hard, but my average heart rate there was 140 beats per minute wrist-based heart rate. So got to take that a little bit with a grain of salt, but that's kind of in the wheelhouse of where I should be. I also did some strength training that day. Then April 4th, 5x tempo miles. So this one, again, this was treadmill. Like this whole week was treadmill almost entirely, just because the weather was so crappy. So if it wasn't snowing, it was super cold and windy. And, again, talking to my coach, it's not as productive to be, it's probably better to run that on a treadmill than run it outside. So did the 5x tempo miles on the treadmill. Again, you got to take the distance a little bit with a grain of salt, but it should be pretty close. So first one, averaged a 6:08 pace. Second one, 6:13. Third one, 6:15. Fourth one, 6:16. Fifth one, 6:20. Now, this is where I feel like I noticed more of a difference between what the treadmill was telling me and what my watch is telling me. So my goal with these mile repeats is to be about a 6:26 on the faster end. So that would be if I'm truly trying to break 3 hours, which is a big ask. It is my stretch goal, but it is a big ask when my previous best time ever is 3:16. That's a whole lot of time to take off in a marathon. But, and then, the other goal is qualify for Boston. So I kind of have two goal time, or my training program is kind of created based on two times. One is a 2:58, the other is a 3:07. So if I'm trying to hit that 2:58, which I am, then I should be at a 6:26 for those mile repeats. If I'm just trying to, break my age group qualification standard for Boston, that's a 6:44 on those mile repeats. So naturally, I am aiming towards the faster end of that. However, I'm also trying to not injure myself and get too carried away. So, do I need to be at a 6:26 today? No, that's where I'd like to be by the end of the training program. But if I can be there today, great. If I can, I'll do it. So as I mentioned already when I was naming off those splits, I was definitely faster than that based on my foot pod. But again, I don't think that's perfect. So the treadmill probably had me much closer to a 6:30, 6:35 pace. My guess is the truth is somewhere in the middle. Now we'll know as I start being able to do more of these outside. Then we'll get a better idea, because I got to think the GPS is at least pretty accurate. So, but again, good workout. Mostly, I don't think I did too much. I don't think there should be too many asterisks next to this workout, though I do know I took a little extra time on some of these. So my rest is supposed to be 1 minute. So I know for sure that at least on one, maybe two of these, I took longer than a minute of recovery. Again, things to work on. But I'm still pretty happy with this workout. Next up, April 5th, just a recovery. This one I did do outside. Yay, finally. 6.3 miles this time, 8:04 pace, 139 average heart rate. Happy with that. Did strength training as well. Saturday, April 6th, was my long run for the week, and I did 14 miles. Now, this one, I wasn't entirely sure how fast I'm supposed to be doing my distance runs. So I asked my friend who's also training for this race and using the same coach. She's the one who hooked me up with the coach. Thanks again, Amy. What pace we're supposed to be doing for those. And she said, you want to start out closer to your recovery pace and then see how you feel. If you feel good, you can push the pace a little bit in the back half. I saw that text message while I was already running, and I had kind of decided that I was going to try to keep it towards the faster end of my recovery pace. That's one thing that I've never really gotten a good feel for how I should be pacing my long runs. Before I had done any homework on this sort of thing, and I was just kind of training based on what I thought I should do, I would like run them at my goal marathon pace, which I've since learned not a great idea. Okay, the injury risk is high. The recovery demands it puts on your body are high, probably higher than you can realistically achieve. So you want to slow them down a bit. So got out of the gate at around or just under an 8-minute mile. And then pretty much held that. Like I definitely started going under that after I saw her message. I think I misread it and thought, oh, target 30 seconds per mile faster than your recovery pace. And to me, that seemed a little too fast to be running that. So I throttled it a little bit, and I was like, well, if I can be 15 seconds faster than my recovery pace, I feel pretty good about that, especially because I haven't been running my long runs at that kind of pace. So I don't want to make the mistake of pushing the pace too much too quickly. Again, maybe under the philosophy of like, I'll try to get there throughout the training program so that by the end of the training program, my long distance runs are at that pace. So anyway, and then actually on the back half, I started knocking down some miles that were about 30 seconds per mile faster than my the faster end of my recovery paces. So I finished that run, did 14 miles in a 1:48:15, so about a 7:43 pace. Average heart rate 147. When I got done with the run, I actually read her full message, and it was like, well, maybe at the end you get down to like 30 seconds per mile faster than your recovery pace. And I was like, okay. So definitely not the whole run. Work your way into it and make sure you feel good, and then maybe you negative split it. So I kind of messed up a little bit, but fortunately I was being conservative anyway. So that's definitely, 147 heart rate for me is definitely not a recovery pace, but it's also not, I'm not like gasping at 147. I'm pretty comfortable at that pace, and I felt pretty good. My legs weren't thrashed by the time I got done or anything. Stretched, took it easy, hung out the rest of that day, and then finished off the weeks running with a 6-mile recovery run, again treadmill. It was just a super crappy day here in Wisconsin. It was it rained the whole day, and it was like 35-40 mile an hour gusting winds, just terrible weather. So I did that on the treadmill again, and I'm kind of going to keep the gym membership at least through May, just because this spring is shaping up to have tons of crappy weather. This whole week it's supposed to be super windy, so probably do some more treadmill runs. I'm planning today to do another recovery run. I haven't decided yet whether that's going to be outside or on a treadmill. We'll see. And then back at it. I've got the 400s, and then I think I've got the other speed session I've got, I think, is the 5-minute intervals, which right now is shaping up to be my least favorite of these. I feel like the 400 intervals aren't a complete sufferfest because it's just not that long of a period of time, right? So it's, if I'm doing these right, in about a minute and 22 seconds of suffering, you can do pretty much anything for a minute and 22 seconds. So, granted you have to do it 10 times, but whatever. 5 minutes of suffering is a little less enjoyable, but hey, 26.2 miles on race day. So, better get used to being uncomfortable. So that's where we're at. That is the week that was, ending in April 7th, and, getting ready for another week of training. We'll see how this one goes. Thank you.